Hi there, it's Kevin with the Rogue Market. I know, it's been a while. One of my New Year's resolutions is to revive this channel. Had a lot of people want me to bring back, especially the Rogue Roundup. So I'm going to try to set aside some time to give this channel some attention in 2021. Crazy, it's already 2021. We are very inactive in 2020, very busy here locally, and then all the other shenanigans going on. But 2021, no excuses. We're reviving this channel. This episode, I'm going to bring back the top 10 items for the particular month, and we're on January, so this is the top 10 items from January 2021 that I either want to talk about or I think are good buys. So I've got Donglair pulled up here, and there's some interesting stuff going on in the market right now. Magic's actually doing better than I expected. We are still in a bubble, in my opinion. There's just too much product that was released in 2020 that I think inevitably is going to I don't know if it's gonna crash the market or we're just gonna go into more of a bear market and a slump like we saw in 2018. However, the market is performing a lot better than I anticipated, so I think that slump's not going to come into about maybe June, maybe July. And the good news is sealed product might actually even dodge it. I think it's going to be the singles. The secondary market for singles is going to get crushed the most just because there's just too much product out there. But it does seem that there is a run on the kind of more dead products for we're talking about just booster boxes, and there are a lot of things like pre-release kits that are still around. There are gift boxes. Gift boxes from last year finally went out of stock. You could still get those up until recently from distributors at distributor cost. We're talking about the Throne of Eldraine gift boxes, but we still have Zendikar gift boxes that are available. Still have bundles. Usually bundles are one of the first ones to go from the distributors before like booster boxes, because bundles are typically just a one and done. They do a run of them and they typically don't reprint them. There have been some exceptions in the past, like Ravnica Allegiance bundles did get a reprint, and there have been a few others in the past that have. So they aren't like something that are limited. It's not a thing that Wizards says there's only be a certain wave of them and then they're done. They still leave that open to if there is demand for reprints. But however, in the more recent past, the most recent sets, that hasn't been the case. They've just printed that one wave and then they're done. So typically bundles do go, and we've seen like Commander decks, Commander 2019, Commander 2020, Ikoria version, booster boxes, pre-release kits. We've seen a slow 2020 for those particular products, and it mainly has to do with the fact that Wizards just been releasing better products to attract that money. We had the Double Masters, we had the Jumpstart, we had Commander Legends, we had Commander Green, we had all these things that were just much more attractive value-wise than going into the old school like bundles or pre-release kits and whatnot. So anyway, I thought that we were going to head into a market where those products were just going to crash and we'd have some opportunity to actually pick them up for cheap. However, in the past month, we've seen those products actually start to move, and some of the more recent older sets, so ones that just rotated, really start to gain value. And I think that they actually make good buys because Amonkhet and Our Devastation, and now Ixalan and Rivals of Ixalan, they actually increased a lot quicker than I anticipated. We had like a good decade where Return to Ravnica and Return to Ravnica all the way through like Journey into Nyx. Even I'd put Dragons in that mix, and even Oath the Gatewatch, Shadows of Innistrad. We had those booster boxes that were at or below distributor price for almost a decade with the kind of the dead sets, and then Pioneer revamped that, and now we've seen Ixalan, Rivals of Ixalan, Hours of Devastation, and Amonkhet just really start to increase in value, and I'm anticipating the exact same thing to happen with the more recently rotated sets like Core 2019, Core 2020, Ravnica Allegiance, and whatnot. So for this month, now that I'm done with my monologue there, I think a good buy would be Core Set 2020. So if you see here on Donglair, Core Set 2020 actually has a positive EV. Now this is a little bit debated exactly how this comes into factor, because there's a lot of fluff here in Core 20. Let's look at Core 2020 here with these uncommons that are only available through the Planeswalker decks, like the Twin Blade Paladin. You can actually come down here with the Vampire of Dire Moon. We have, no, that one is, yeah, I believe that one was in, maybe this one is in the main set. Never mind, that one's okay. But there is like Prized Unicorn. These actually do affect the EV if Donglair is including them, and I think they are. Someone can correct me in the comment section below if they do not include these cards that are not included in the booster boxes in that price evaluation? If so, then Core 2020 doesn't look as good as what it suggests on Donglair. But if not, then it's even better with those cards out of the mix. So Core 2020, though, I do like it because it doesn't really have any chase mythics in it. We have the most expensive card being Omnath, Locus of the Royal. I think the card will age very well. Same thing with Sorin, Imperious Bloodlord. Both these I think will age extremely well. At Johnny, same thing with Johnny Life Gain decks. I mean, these actually have some good movement here in the past week, according to MTG Goldfish. Even Yarok the Desecrated, that's been one that's been ticking up. But where this set really shines is in its rare slots. So the rares, it's got the Veil of Summer too, which is an uncommon at $8.50. And then you just have a plethora of rares that are around that $5 mark. Now, it's very rare for sets in today's day and age to have rares that hit the $5 mark. And what makes Core 2020 even more lucrative to invest in is it doesn't have collector's edition. This is also something that gets crushed. If we compare it to any sort of set that has any collector's edition, rares become the new uncommons. Uncommons become just like any other common. They're very, very common at that point, especially foil versions of them. But pre this whole collector's edition, which is Core 2020, that was the last set before collector's edition. These actually look like pretty lucrative boxes to invest in because of the rare slot being very, very reasonable. So anyway, that's my first pick, is the Core Set 2020. So let's go on to another one that is that I've talked about before. This is Modern Horizons. This one's on the tick again, and there have been a lot of movement. I think this is your last chance to get into more Modern Horizons. Oh, back to Core Set 2020. That hasn't. You can still get that at distributor price for $85. There is plenty of supply still left, but I'm thinking that this one is going to evaporate before some of the other sets in this time period. So Modern Horizons, though, it does seem to have still some pretty healthy supply. However, I don't know how long that's going to hold. I can get it from one distributor right now for still $165. The other distributor's around $175, $180 for Modern Horizons, and that's actually quite reasonable if you look at the EV here. The EV says that it's going to be about $189, $190 a box. Depending on what day you're looking at here. It says 186 right now, 30 for Modern Horizons. So if you can get in and under that price, and you're looking at your EV actually making back, there are a lot of good cards in Modern Horizons. There are cards that have been creeping up on us. The Force of Negation Rare at $53. We have like Urza and Ren that are above 40, and Ren's at 60 still. We have Seasoned Pyromancer that continues to see more and more play in various formats. A very good card even in Commander. And the Prismatic Vista, which is just a powerhouse in Commander and has not had a reprint except in the specialty cards at this point. The swords are doing quite well. Yawgmoth, Echoesians, tons of mythics here above the $10 range. And then we even have some rares like the Giver of Runes, the land cycle, that are around that $10 range as well. So there is quite a bit of value in Modern Horizon, comparatively speaking to the price of the box, and I think that this is going to be the last opportunity to get in before it starts creeping up. Has some good uncommons too, as you can see here with like the Talisman, Generous Gift. All the run of talismans are all around the $1 to $2 range, and even the snow-covered lands do hold value for now. I don't know if it's been spoiled yet in Kaldheim, if there's just regular snow-covered lands. If so, then maybe these ones won't be as lucrative as they are now. So I do like Modern Horizons as another pick. So now, talking about specialty sets, I actually am quite bullish on Commander Legends. Now, Commander Legends, they don't have an EV on Dongler right now. It's kind of weird with how the cards contained in this. I think they could easily do an EV for this. But there's a ton of supply. This is getting reprint after reprint. Commander Legends seems to be quite healthy on the supply. It's going to be very similar to Modern Horizons. I think they're just going to continue to pump it out as long as there's demand for it. But this is another set that I think that you get your bang for your buck long term. There are a lot of things, even in the common and uncommon slots, that I think are going to age well. You have like the Arcane Signet. You have the Thought Vessel. You have the commons like the diamond. You have all the diamonds that are in here, and you have some unique cards too that I think will age well long term with the Preordained in here too. Yeah, I forgot about that one. That will age long term because they do have quite unique abilities. A lot of the partner commanders, a lot of just the multicolored commanders, I think are going to be staples in the commander format for a long time. And we have some good mythics. We have some chase mythics. I actually have a lot of value packed into this set with the Vampiric Tour, the Manager, and the Jewel Lotus, the Scroll Rack. All those I think are going to be things that are to be chased after for the long term. There are many cards that are more played in Commander than things like Mana Drain and Vampiric Tutor. So I think getting in on the Commander Legends at the $85 booster box and start having a healthy position on these, this could be the next Battle Bond. It could be one of those sets that people are like, oh, there's plenty of supply, plenty of supplies, plenty of supply, and then it just dries up and then it goes crazy because this is going to be a set that is going to be drafted. It's going to be limited. We right now are doing a Commander League. What we do is we start with half a booster box of so that's 12 packs of Commander Legends, and you build a Commander deck out of that 12 packs, and then it just runs like a regular league. Every 3 losses you get a new pack. Every 10 points we've put together a prize pool. We open up a Double Masters VIP and a bunch of other collector's editions and have like this prize pool. Whenever you get the 10 points, and we have a little point system how you earn points playing in the Commander League, you get a random promo that then you can add to your deck. So it's a lot of fun. I've preferred, a lot of my patrons here have preferred it because it is, the power level of Commander just kind of got obscene lately. I mean, every new set that comes out, there are just more and more I win buttons. There are more, it's getting very efficient, very redundant. They keep, it used to be that there was only like one explosive growth, one card that did that effect. And now, even in Standard, I think we've had 3 sets in a row that have had explosive growths in them. So, I mean, Zendikar had one, Ikoria had one, with the cycling one, the one that puts +1s and counters on everything. There have been these cards that just get so redundant that Commander's becoming very efficient even with 100 cards. And so dumbing it down with some of the Commander Legends League, you guys should try it out. It's quite fun. We've had a blast playing it. So anyway, I think Commander Legends is going to be a set that is going to age very, very well long term. Another one that I do like, the other products I do like, is both the Zendikar Rising Collector's Editions and the Zendikar Rising booster boxes. Now, I would avoid bundles and I would avoid pre-release kits for Zendikar Risings because I think the best bang for your buck is going to be these expeditions. You can see here that you're guaranteed one of these per of the box toppers. I mean, the average value, it's adding almost $20, I think is the average value, a little over $20 for the average value of these specialty ones. So your booster box is already getting that value there. And if we come over to Dongler, yeah, it's pretty weak. Like the booster box is very, very weak, but look, it's going up. It was 47 and it's very low. It's up to 55. Zendikar Rising has some of the best cards ever printed as far as being able to just put in any decks. All of those land cycles, especially we have the Agadeems, the swamp that can return creatures back from your graveyard. That's just a shoo-in. You can basically justify throwing that in almost any black deck because the downside of just paying 3 life or coming in and play tapped is very, very small comparatively speaking to being able to return 3, 4, 5 creatures back from your graveyard. Even 1 creature back from your graveyard is worth it at that point. So I think those cards will age very, very well. There are some powerhouses in the Zendikar Rising. It's still being outshined by Theros, but I think that once Theros does rotate, Zendikar Rising is the one set that does survive the rotation, so it has the best ability to recover, and I think it will be a powerhouse going forward. It has a decent land cycle in it. It's got great commander cards that see a lot of play, and so with the box topper being the kind of the cherry on top, more than a cherry on top, it's the frosting, the whipped cream and the cherry that really make it worth it to go into the booster boxes and into the collector's edition. Right now I have collector's editions at $170 and booster boxes can be had for as low as $76 for a booster box if you get in on the special. So that's another reason to check out my Patreon if you are in the market for sealed product or just want to save on Magic the Gathering and support the channel at the same time. Go out and check out my Patreon at patreon.com/roguedeckbuilder. So those are my 5 picks for sealed product right now: Core 2020, Modern Horizons, Zendikar Rising's Expedition, or Zendikar Rising's Collector's Edition / booster boxes, and then we have Commander Legends. So now let's change gears to talk about some products that I absolutely love. And we're going to stick with our Gamegenic. So Gamegenic is a company that came out in late 2020, and it has put out some just awesome products. And the first one that I really, really like is this Dungeon 1100 convertible. And I believe these go for like 32. I might be wrong on this one. I mean, it MSRP's for $60. I think I can get it as low as 32. It might be 34 or 36. I can't remember my spread on how much Gamegenic costs. Of course, Tillering Community College is given an A+ rating. I don't quite give it an A+ rating. I wish that it could hold cards. My only problem with this one, I wish it was a little bit more wide. I don't know how they get away with it though. If you could actually put sleeved cards in horizontally rather than vertically. That's my only beef with it, but the magnets are great on it. You can go and check out 20 Cubic College's full review video. It's well done. It's pointless for me to repeat something that's already been perfectly done. It can hold a variety of different products in here, like a playmat can go there. Your cards can go vertical. I just don't know why I don't like putting cards in vertical. It's just like a pet peeve of mine, but it fits very well with their own products. You can see here it's holding, 10 Gamegenic plus tokens here. With these Gamegenic boxes, I don't know if they're putting 80. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the hundreds, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 80s of the Gamegenic boxes. These are very similar to like the Ultra Pro or the Dragon Shield kind of flimsy boxes. It also holds boulders from Ultra Pro very, very well, and it holds, I think that a picture here, it holds these Squires is what they're called from Gamegenic, which are also really good deck boxes, holds these perfectly in this. And so that's what I've been running for all my Commander decks I've got in these Gamegenic Squires that hold 100 cards, and I've got it in my dungeon. So I think that this one is the best one. Ultimate Guard has some, but I think that it's not quite as good as the Gamegenic. This is my pick for like one of these big boxes to hold boxes. It's got kind of that fake velvet on it, and it's got great magnets. It holds very, very well. Again, you can go and look at reviews for this particular product. So I think getting it in on 32 or 34, can't remember exactly what my price is a very good deal for the dungeon convertible. All right, speaking of another great product from Gamegenic, this is the Gamegenic Binders. I think they slightly edge out the decks. I mean, they're right on par with decks and Ultimate Guard, but I really do like just the overall quality and feel of the Gamegenic Binders. These come in, you can get them in zip, you can get them in non-zip, and you can get them in 4 rows or 3 rows, so 9 pockets or 12 pockets. And it depends on your preference. The 12 boxes get a little bit bulky. They're hard to fit in like a non-laptop backpack. But there is the option of the 18s. I can't remember my price at the moment. Let me go ahead and look these up real quick, what the price that I get these at. We have the Gamegenic. We have the 24 pockets are $20, and the 18 pockets are $17. So again, it puts them right on par there with like the Dex binders, which I think are also a great alternative to the Gamegenic. But again, these are just really, really good binders. The quality's great, as you can see. It's got great zippers. Everything holds in. Very, very solid binder. The MSRP again for $35. So again, my spread's about 40% for the Zip Up Album 24 pockets. All right, now I'll switch gears. I'm going to actually talk about 3 games, non-Magic the Gathering games, that I particularly like. For 2 of these are people that are looking to get into the genre, into board games that are quite easy. Maybe you can play with your friends or family that aren't gamers. And the last one is, Flesh and Blood is the most hyped up, overhyped game that I've come across in a long time. You can tell my tone. I am not a fan of Flesh and Blood. I think it's a Dutch tulip going on with investors preying on speculators, preying on speculators, and it's just the comic book industry ready to crash because the product is not getting into the hands of the players. There have been particularly like 1, 2, 3 buyers that have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars hoarding the product, and I think that's always a bad sign for the game. I need to do an overall analysis of Flesh and Blood, but the TLDR for Flesh and Blood is you want to see like natural growth. You want to see organic growth is what we call about it. And this, in my opinion, is a lot of FOMO. It's a lot of people remembering when they were 12, they were 15, and they had the opportunity but didn't have the money, or their kids when they could have bought that Alpha Booster box of Magic the Gathering, or they could have had that Charizard, first edition Charizard. And the shoulda, coulda, wouldas is really playing with Flesh and Blood with a lot of people that are now investing in these unlimited, super shiny, ultra rare products. And there are a lot of warning signs with Flesh and Blood. One being the unlimited print run is very similar to the limited print run. However, the unlimited booster boxes are still very, very reasonable as far as cost is the spread, comparatively speaking, from between MSRP and distributor price. And my biggest problem, too, is that a lot of the more playable cards, which a lot of people are touting that this is why it's a good game, and I think, no, it shows a huge red flag. A lot of the playable cards that aren't cold foils or aren't super, super ultra rare shinies are basically worthless. And, it makes the game accessible for people to actually pick up and play. But you should see a natural spread between worthless cards and cards that are played in tournament-based decks. Now, there has been some of those cards that have been moving, lately, but I still want to caution about Flesh and Blood. That's my first problem with the Flesh and Blood. My second problem with Flesh and Blood is that it is just a kind of a shallow game. And people keep saying, well, wait for more expansions, wait for more expansions. Well, here's my problem. So I bought an Arcane Rising box, and I cracked it. I have it on my Rogue Deck Builder channel. And then I tried to actually build decks with it, and you barely, out of an entire booster box, you can barely build a deck. You can and it gets so redundant and repetitive with the cards that it is, in my opinion, very shallow. Like, compare that to Magic the Gathering. If you open an entire box of Magic the Gathering, you can build probably an infinite amount of, not infinite, but you're going to get like, you're going to get all the commons, you're going to get plenty of commons and uncommons, and a lot of the archetypes and the design and stuff like that is going to have a lot of overlapping with other stuff, and you can create a multitude of combinations and decks, and based upon what rares you pull and whatnot, you can build plenty of things out of an entire booster box. I could not get that experience out of one booster box of Flesh and Blood, and that just shows the game is quite shallow. Again, I need to give it a bigger run, but I was not impressed with the gameplay. Yes, there was a little bit of tit for tat, but it was just, I don't know. It just wasn't my cup of tea, and didn't really get my brewer gears kind of going, and I was very lackluster. So let me talk about, a lot of people have been asking for an alternative for Magic because they're bored of Magic. They don't like the direction of Magic. This game is actually coming back. This is called Ashes, Rise of the Phoenixborn, and the game is actually quite good. So how Ashes plays, how they suggest you come over to Plat Hat Games here and look at Ashes Rise of the Phoenixborn, and how this game actually plays is use dice as your resource. So you get to mix and match. You get to choose, kind of like a commander is how it works. So you choose one of these guys, your leader. They have their hand size. They have a special ability that you can use on one of your dice resources to use once per turn, and they have their own life total. They also have, I think, a little metric of how many enchantments. It's very comparative enchantments you can have out and whatnot. So it kind of gives you some parameters of what you can play in your deck. And many of these cards will have dice that want to pair with them because they use specific dice, but you are free to mix and match whatever dice that you want to use, and each of these dice actually have an ability by themselves. And so it's kind of an interesting little mechanic. Yes, it does have some variance with what dice you roll and what cards you draw, but you can definitely mitigate that with being able to play, having lots of options, having the dice being resources, having your basically commander being a resource that's you're starting with, and then it ends up being a pretty good tit for tat game. It was too similar to Magic. This is my problem with these type of games. If I am going to play a game that's like Magic, I'm just going to play Magic. There's still enough from Magic for me to experience, and it's just worth my time more to play that. But Ashes, just looking, if Magic did not exist and I was looking for kind of a 1v1 game, I think this is a very well-designed game. And it's coming back. The problem with this one is they kind of axed it. The problem with living card games is they don't have the skinnerware that the collectible card games have. And so it's a lot harder for these games to come up with the revenue streams when it is just when LCG, the difference between an LCG and a CCG is living card game. You just buy, it'd be like Unstable or Commander decks, the precons. You buy the precons and they have all the cards. You know what you're getting out of them. It's the same thing out of every precon. You're going to get the same cards. That's kind of like if Magic was an LCG, that's all the products would be. There would be no booster packs. There would be no variants in stuff. You get what you get. So LCGs, that's kind of their theory. They want people to buy, to know what they get. They don't want people chasing for packs and booster packs and stuff to go with their decks. I think it's a terrible business model. I mean, there are a lot of people that they really want to die by this whole. Part of the fun of Magic the Gathering is the chase, and you take away this from card games where you don't have the chase of getting like the ultra super mythic rare foil Charizard, Jace the Mind Sculptor crossover. That's you miss out on a lot of that these people that actually just enjoy open those. And let's be honest with ourselves, we all enjoy it to some point. I like to make fun of people about foils and alternate arts and blah, 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 blah. But even I get a little bit of a gambling rush by picking up booster packs and opening them and whatnot. And also you have the limited environment that creates when you actually do that. So that's the one problem with Ashes is they decided to go an LCG way rather than a CCG. And it's going to hurt their bottom line. But the game as it stands, you can still mix and match. It's not like Keyforge where you're just stuck with the deck you get. You can like open up one of these products and then you can actually, edit the decks. You can take out cards and whatnot, and kind of meld and mix and match of what you put in these decks. So the overall gameplay is very, very good. It's very Magic similar. You're attacking, you're blocking, you're doing damage to the player, which is your commander. You're using things as resources, hand management, dice management. And there's a lot of just I was very impressed with this game. So again, if you're looking for an alternative to Magic and don't want to go with Flesh and Blood, don't want to go with another overhyped game, I think this one has proven itself. The problem with this game is they did axe it. It wasn't doing well in 2018, so they decided that they were going to discontinue it, and then it had a huge resurgence over the 2020 of people actually buying up the rest of the product and actually playing this game. So they're bringing it back. They're making a little bit of rules changes. I still have some of the original versions of these cards, so definitely go and message me. And I can see what I can do as far as price-wise, because these have been going crazy on eBay lately for the original ones. But this should be coming out pretty soon with the Ashes Reborn. And if you're in the market for an alternative to Magic, highly, highly suggest this one. Alrighty, so now on to 2 intro games for board games. The first one I really like is Skull. Skull is now that I guess I can refresh this. One second here. I guess maybe this website does not want to come up. There we go. So Skull is a bluffing game. So it works very similar to Liar's Dice. And so I've been around friends and family a lot over this last month with the holidays. And this one's got to the table quite a bit. So Skull is you start with these discs here. And every player has to put down a disc, and there's going to be a face up and a face down side. So it's going to be a face up. Oh, and it's going to refresh again on us. That's nice. So there's going to be a face up and a face down version of the tile, and then you are going to once everyone has laid a tile, then you can continue starting with a starting player. You can continue to lay another tile down, or you can start the bidding. And it works very similar to Liar's Dice. You can then say, I can turn over 3 tiles before I hit a skull. And then the next person actually either call you on it, or they have to say 4. And then it keeps going until eventually someone is called on it. And then you have to start, if you're called, you have to start with yourself and you have to flip over all of your tiles. And if you have a skull underneath your tiles, you just automatically lose, and then you lose a tile. So there's a couple ways to how this game ends. Is if people just run out of tiles, or if you win twice in a row, you actually just win the game. So it's a very fast intro game to the genre. It's I've never really heard of anyone really hating this game. We had a lot of fun with people that just like to have kind of silly fast games and kind of bluffing games. I prefer it to something like Liar's Dice. There are some good versions of Liar's Dice, but I think this one's a very good kind of bluff game to kind of get your feet wet for the board game genre, or introduce other people into the board game genre. So Skull is pretty cheap. It's like a $12 game. It's got high quality components to it, and I highly, highly recommend this Skull. All right, the other one I like is in 2019, there was a huge kind of bubble in what we call flipping rights and rolling rights. It's where you either flip a card or roll dice, and then you have to mark off something on your tableau. This one's pretty good because it is kind of Tetris-y. So you start off with these cards here, and you'll have to fill in these spaces. So every turn you're going to flip over, there'll be a deck of different Tetris pieces, and they'll be flipped over one at a time, and then you have to strategically place these on your card. So you'll have 3 of these at a time, and once you complete one, you get another one. And some of them will have like bonuses, so there'll be these little palm trees. If you cover up a palm tree, then you score points based upon how many palm trees are out on the market. So there'll be a market for new cards coming up. If you get a coin, you'll get a point for the coin. Plus, if you're the first one to get 5 coins, you'll be able to get this reward. They will be worth 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 based on who got there first. And these X spots, if you ever fill up these X spots, allows you to cross off another spot on one of your cards. So I really, really like this game. The flow of the game is really good. It's very, very good for a roll and write and a flip and write. It gets to the table quite often. My family had a lot of fun with this, and it's a game that I think is a very good intro game. It's another very cheap game. I believe this one is $12 as well. So it's a great way to get your feet wet into the roll and write / flip and write genre, and there are so many games like this, but I think this is one of the better ones. All right, so this is kind of a big video for my top 10 items that I would buy. I think these are all great ones. I would continue to add board games to the list. You can always check out my Patreon and get, distributor pricing of all these things that are named on here. I try to give back to all of my patrons. You scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. And we have a very, very robust and lively Discord as well. And the products aren't just limited to these sort of things. We have a plethora of things that are available. So come and check that out. Anyway, we'll keep doing this. I'm going to try to do these twice a month for the top 10 items. And again, we'll be trying to revive this channel as well as the other channels in the upcoming weeks. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is Kevin with the Rogue Market. Thanks for watching.